Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This time, we're back with TNG, the Pegasus. The Pegasus on It's All Been Trek Before. Yeah, if you want to get super mythical, help us with our myth. Build our myth on Facebook. It's All Been Trek Before, spelled just like it sounds, just like it's spelled on the show. Join us on Facebook. Lots of fun out there. Fun postings every week. We keep you posted on what episodes are out. Lots of fun stuff. Meme stuff. Get in on it. It's real easy. All you can do is get on Facebook and find us. It's All Been Trek Before. Now, climb aboard, as this is TNG's The Pegasus on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. Your regular hosts are here. This is Steven.
So I'm just going to say I'm Keith.
And Jimmy Jerome. We have a brand new guest here with us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would not, no.
Well, I will introduce her as Dawn with a W. And yeah.
Buffy's little sister.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's it. Yeah. One of the reasons why I knew her before was back in the message board days. And this is the way you had to talk about things before, like social media became like that, like Facebook. I think that's what really kind of was the end of that era. But, you have all these discussions about TV shows and movies and so forth. And I remember her being very insightful and prolific on those topics. So,
nice.
Yeah, very similarly, like just watching everything. And there you go.
So whenever we have a new guest on, we start by asking them what their Star Trek experience is. Basically, like, what Star Trek have you seen? What haven't you seen? Where did you find it? That kind of thing. Just so we know, like, what your background is that you're bringing to the discussion.
Obviously, my entry point, because I'm old, is original flavor.
Did you watch it when it was on or on reruns? Because you don't look old enough to watch it while it was on.
I'm super old.
Not that. No, I mean not.
The 1960s.
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched it in the
So you watched the reruns. I was going to say, okay, that makes more sense.
I like to say that Janeway was my favorite captain because she was, and also because it makes dudes angry.
I'm super upset right now. Sisko's my favorite captain, hands down, easily.
I was just telling him, he was saying, I was like, which flavor of Star Trek? And he's just like, well, it could be this. And I'm like, I haven't watched that one.
Oh.
Well, I was saying it was going, TNG, but if you were to come back soon, it could be DS9.
I don't have anything against him. I just haven't watched it. And I don't even know that I have strong feelings. I can generate strong feelings for Janeway as my favorite captain. I've watched original, Next Generation, Voyager. I've not watched
one of the many, many, many people that skipped DS9.
Yeah.
I could give you 5 episodes to watch a DS9 and you'd have to come away at least respecting Sisko. But I love Janeway too. So we're talking the Next Generation episode, Pegasus, First Impressions.
Well, we're back about Peg as us. I think that no.
Keep her clean rated.
Yes.
Clothes are very polyester and itchy, and they keep adjusting them.
Yeah.
And I feel like I watched them adjust them in the past, but in your very high definition television, I could see how itchy.
On the 4K TV with the HD upgrade version of Next Gen.
That is worth noting. This is the Christmas stuff. I've got a 4K TV home. It's something just not.
My living room TV is not 4K, so I don't normally watch in 4K. Every time I come down here, I'm impressed.
Are we watching like a disc?
No, we were watching Paramount streaming. I have the Blu-ray of Next Gen. There's no Blu-ray of DS9 and Voyager, but I have the Blu-ray of Next Gen. That's how I usually watch it, but it's not 4K upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got a couple first impressions.
You can probably say along with me, I don't know that it hung the moon, but I thought, I thought
100 times.
there's a lot of great moments in it. Obviously, there's some, filling in the gaps in Riker's career. And as Jimmy pointed out, as we did this one live, Riker and Picard become best friends or whatever, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of great and, good Romulan stuff also. But also, overriding it was also another bad Commodore episode.
Oh,
that's true.
And it was the cliche from the drop. Is like, okay, there's something wrong with this guy. He's the bad guy. And I kept waiting for it to change. But again, that's probably the main reason I don't think it hung the moon. But some good effects, some cool stuff. And I don't know, we'll see where it goes from here. But Yeah, but definitely, I enjoyed it overall.
To get my like non-gag answer to that. No, you kind of influenced me a bit on this. I was starting to feel like this was better than most of the episodes we had in this season so far. And you've, I think, famously so far been really down on the things.
Yeah.
I've been kind of there. It had more of the things that I like, as I was remarking through this. Just those little bits of the catty banter when you have the captains on the screens against each other. Romulans and Cardassians, they had that flavor of let's out sassy. Just that kind of we're being overly polite in a way. The subtext, those subtext battles, I love it. But I think you pointed out what should have struck me is there wasn't a twist. I mean, as far as the Commodore, there could have been all kinds of, but it was by the numbers, like Commodore. Like
the reveal of what the thing was, I think, was good, even though we all kind of guessed it before we got there. It was a cloaking device kind of thing, but it was cloaking device plus. But and I left out like the first 5 minutes of this episode are hilarious. Oh God, all the Captain Carday plus the ship to ship stuff. It's great stuff.
Oh, the punctuation with was another admiral that he was talking to.
Blackwell.
The Terstwoman.
The Terstwoman.
First lady.
First lady.
Played by Nancy Walter, who's best known for this one episode of The Next Generation.
Yeah.
15 episodes of LA, Second Thoughts, Hill Street Blues. She only has 5 credits.
Yeah.
Yes. I recognized her.
Yeah.
Really?
And also,
Only 5 credits and you recognize her. That's impressive.
I recognized her from other.
Yeah, she only has 5 credits.
But she's having
Only.
Picard.
Yeah.
Which is it's nice. It's nice.
Which is
I love Picard, but it's
my favorite part. Because like Picard, Picard's thing is just like he is charming, and she's like, your charm does not work on me.
But he's also, as we will find out in the spin-off Star Trek Picard, and I've talked about this before, so this isn't a spoiler, but the hubris where he has a little bit of a holier than thou attitude and always thinks he's right. And a lot of times he is. It's very justified most of the time, but every once in a while it's like, dude, let somebody else have an opinion.
And this was ranked as one of the top 5 episodes to watch before you watched Picard.
This one
kind of pointed out.
Saw that explicated.
Yeah.
That was this is an illustration of that.
And so my first impression, because I've got
wait. I'm sorry. One last thing to finish up. Yeah, the punctuation, the comedic punctuation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you watch the way that we do, we're amused very easily by those little things that you get that kind of baseline of how you're jabbing a little like the stiff, the stiffness of any of the characters at any time, and when you have another especially stiff character watching from the outside and he's trying to this thing of I'm sure, yes. Well, bam, just like that drove it right home.
I even feel like this first 5 minutes, the cold open, if it had in that day and age, for sure, if you put a laugh track on it, it would have fit. Yeah, the way it was written was so good that
Next Gen's always stiff. And
yes,
so yes, anything you poke fun at, just
for everyone to kind of drop it. And I mean, and Riker's impersonation of Picard was Jonathan Frakes was spot on. It was great.
Which such a journey from season 1 to 7 because if Picard had done, or if Riker had done that to Picard in season 1, he would have got dressed down hard. And instead, Picard is tolerant, almost amused by it. And then the Commander Riker day is just him teasing back. Even though neither want to crack a smile, it's like they finally have this banter. They've developed this relationship.
And we talked ad nauseum about, there's not really a serial aspect to it, but their characters and arcs are over, like you're saying, at first Picard was like, I don't really know everybody here, and now he does.
And it's only Picard's loosening up. But he's the last one to loosen up.
Yep.
I thought you were going to mention also that they explicitly called back to Farpoint to evoke that memory of their meeting, and you can remember the way how stiff Riker was when they first showed up there too, and that kind of just kind of.
You're talking about their first encounter.
So
did he straighten his shirt?
Oh, Picard always does. That's the Picard maneuver when he pulls. The Picard maneuver, because he's got the space Picard maneuver, and then the Picard maneuver it's spelled different.
And you also you are already familiar with the Riker maneuver, apparently.
Riker, keep swinging over the back of the chair, straddling it. Because his body is just so huge. I absolutely adore Commander Riker.
Same.
First impression. I had never seen this episode. So I was looking forward to it because there is another episode of another Star Trek series that takes place during this episode. And so that's why I chose this as a live episode. Because
Silver.
it's not a crossover, but we actually see. So Troy was only in the cold open of this episode.
Yeah.
We
Why did you see her?
we see what Troy is up to during this episode with Riker, in between the Admiral coming on board and Riker making that fateful
Oh my
decision
God.
Oh, wow.
in the series finale of Star Trek Enterprise, which is freaking bizarre, and it's why everybody hates the series finale of Star Trek Enterprise, because it's a Next Generation episode.
Interesting.
But it features.
Oh, I wish I did not know that.
It's
You'll
okay,
forget it.
You'll forget.
I hope. I'm
The fact-
trying to out. It's like,
12 years.
here we go.
It's
Oh God, don't even. Oh my
They
God.
literally filmed it like 10 years later. So Riker and Troy look older, but it's them during this episode. And that's why I was very curious to dig into this of what I remember what Riker's doing in the scenes that we did not see. So I wanted to get the context of what drove him to do those things. And now I understand
Oh my
of
God.
Troy helping him work through his decisions.
I love stuff like that.
So it's a great episode of Trek. I love that it exists. Everybody was really mad that they chose that as the final episode of Star Trek Enterprise. And I agree, because while it has Star Trek Enterprise characters in it, how dare you make a Next Gen episode about Riker and Troy as your last episode?
Okay, that makes sense.
Instead of making it about the series that it is.
Well,
The penultimate episode of Star Trek Enterprise is a great series finale, but then they added this to the. We start with the Captain
Picard Day was amazing.
So many memes
Hilarious.
of Captain Picard Day.
I just wrote it down. I just knew.
Have you seen the memes?
He's right, Captain.
No.
There's so many memes of Captain Picard Day. And I think Lower Decks, remember they did Captain Freeman Day on Lower Decks?
I didn't realize.
Well, and I read that this gets referred to later, right? In later episodes, Captain Picard Day, apparently.
It's mentioned in a number of iterations of Trek.
So, yeah, it was.
The animated series that takes place 5 years after Next Gen has a lot of references. It's so good.
Comedically brilliant. All the oh my God.
It's the funniest Star Trek they've ever made. Anyway,
Well, I mean,
it's funnier than this, and this is funny.
Yeah.
Everything about that scene, from Riker trying to steal the doll, from Troy being like, "We'll give it back," to the impressions, everything about the scene was A+ perfect.
And then, to me, the capper is Picard saying, "Oh, by the way, next month we're Commander Riker."
Which he's bull crapping, but
Yeah.
I still loved it.
Yeah. Oh, it's just
Perfect,
like,
flawless.
Yeah.
Did not fit in this episode at all. That's fine.
no, it was, yeah. It's, well, and it's a good. It's kind of like the poker games
It's
they
the
do. It's a good.
honestly, the poker games usually relate to the main plot. This time, I think this was like a cold open of a sitcom, like The Office. Never relates to the episode itself.
Like I said, you could put
It
a
stands alone by itself and is great. That's what this was.
or Seinfeld for that matter. It's where him and Jerry.
It's like at the beginning of any other Next Gen episode. It works. Yeah.
I will say that I think part of that was to illustrate their relationship currently.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to, we're at this level of banter now.
Yeah,
We're going to come back and talk about the far point and all the other things. And so, yeah.
that's a good point.
One other thing they mentioned in that conversation, which I, at least according to my notes, the USSS Crazy Horse.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which-
No follow up on that, was there? I mean,
No, but that was just the name of a ship. But
Right, but
Crazy Horse obviously is a very well-known Native American.
Yes.
but Don and I both went to.
We went to the least most racist thing.
Yeah, the Neil Young with Crazy
Yeah.
Horse. Crazy Horse is Neil Young's backing band.
So
And Hey, My
I don't know that. But wait, I don't know that.
Rest Never Sleep.
Because of TJ.
It's Hey, My. Isn't that the name of it?
No, I don't know it.
It is.
Maybe. But because of TJ, I had the Ozman band in my head because they have a song called Crazy Horses. And I was like, it kept playing in my head. And, oh my God. Do you know?
for your reference, Crazy Horse was a Lakota war leader of the Oglala band in the 19th century, took up arms against the U.S. federal government to fight against the encroachment of white American settlers on Native American territory. This was in the 19th century.
Like what genre was the band? Was it classical? I guess at that point it would have to be.
Oh,
No.
Crazy Horse.
Yeah, the band.
He was at the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Is late 60s.
Yeah, early 70s. It's like right after CSNY.
No, I was joking about the thing you were just saying. It's like crazy band.
It is.
Band of.
It is called Hey, My, rock and roll.
So yeah, this was post-Civil War that he rebelled against the American government. So
Better to burn out than fade away. It is. There is actually
That's
some time. What's that?
Was that phrase from that?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, actually, it's probably for something else, but he said
Probably like we've ever thought of that is brilliant. Someone said before.
well, that.
That is a direct quote from Abraham Lincoln. 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, not the Scott.
Oh my God.
There is 90% of the quotes they made up. Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
I think I have
Clink.
juice there.
Yeah. See that. Jimmy, oh my
I
God.
get Keith all the time.
No, I would say, no, it's usually me doing this. And when you,
Yes, but you frequently believe me. During the Captain Picard day, Captain Picard gets the call from Admiral Blackwell, which is delightful in its awkwardness.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, I'm a role model. And she's like, I'm sure you are. Which is especially,
Again, it's great. It's
also
perfect comedy.
it's also really good because we know Picard hates children, and over these 7 years,
Right.
he's grown more accustomed.
Right.
So that just adds the layers to the backstory adds the layers.
Well, and whoever had just told him that, and Picard and Patrick Stewart delivering it perfectly.
Oh, he's
yeah. The timing and delivery is just fantastic.
so it's actually very Boimler. In
Yes.
the sense of like, he's all these objections. And he's placed in this situation where it's like, well, I have to exemplify the thing I hate because I was perceiving this thing I most feared
Can you
right here.
imagine seeing Boimler as a first officer or captain someday? Like, he'll be so different from what he is now.
That's a Lord.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like, I would love to see Boimler as like a captain with Tandy not Tendi, with Mariner as his first officer.
Oh my God.
Would that be awesome?
Oh my, yeah.
I think he'd pick her. Anyway. So then we get to the call, and it turns out, first of all, they're allowed to break the speed limit, which is fantastic, because we just set that speed limit because of the environmental damage that Picard does. Yeah. So I liked they called that back with you're allowed to break the speed limit this episode. And then we're told Riker's
It makes sense.
previous captain, Eric Pressman, is coming on board, played by Terry O'Quinn, best known for Lost, obviously. Also, The Rocketeer, The Stepfather, Young Guns.
What I know him,
Only, no kidding.
what I know him best,
Castle Rock,
Old School. He is Luke Wilson's boss at Old School.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And
So whenever I watch him, people are like, "Oh, that's the guy from Lost." I'm like, "No, that's the guy from Old School." But
X-Files? Nobody? X-Files?
So back to
Yes.
the episode. So we get Terry O'Quinn beams aboard. Apparently, this was Riker's first captain when he was
he was
fresh out of the academy, like 7 months out. He was an ensign. He was the
Nice.
pilot, which is a cool element trivia. And there was a mutiny, and Riker chose the wrong side. He chose Terry O'Quinn, although he would have died. And he chose
They were keeping it very vague until
the look on his face when Terry O'Quinn showed up.
Oh, right.
And my-
Even comment on it. You look at me.
And my note right away was like, they're like, "Yeah, the two of us and 7 survivors." I'm like, "There were only 9 survivors?" Oh, they explain it later. Now I get it.
That reaction, I'm realizing now in retrospect, that's like abusee seeing their abuser show up suddenly.
Yeah.
Because he's been processing that for so long.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like, oh, look, I've seen a ghost. You know, that kind of.
Yeah. Well, and we're kind of jumping in again, but yeah, I think that element of it, the whole like Riker living with that and like, I didn't make the right decision is something I don't think we've seen a ton in TNG. Maybe I'm wrong with that.
No, we've seen a bit of that so
One of our beloved.
well, we've talked about how Riker is essentially Kirk, James T.
Yes.
And
Right.
that's why they were able to use the old Star Trek Phase 2 scripts
Yeah.
for early next gen, because Kirk,
They kind of
as much as everybody thinks Kirk is the rule breaker and Picard is the rule follower, we find out through backstory that in their youth, Picard was the rule breaker and Kirk was the rule follower.
Yeah.
So getting this side of Riker follows the same pattern. And I really loved that. And I just getting this, like the mistake that you can't take back, that you know you did wrong. And everywhere Riker has come from, he was a great first officer from the beginning, but his whole trajectory, this has led up to something awesome. And I know Riker, Frakes is usually thought of more as a director. He's discounted as an actor, but God darn it, he could act when he wants to.
Well,
and he was killing it this episode.
we were going to say the same thing, but I think he matured at both probably the same times and rates. So as he's directing more, he's acting less, but when he's on camera, he's just kind of.
And so he was on trajectory to be, he was trying to, when we met him, they talked about how Kirk was still the youngest captain in the fleet. Riker really wanted to be a captain. But then as he served under Picard, he kept turning down captainships because he felt he had more to learn. And I think this is the combination of that. Of Riker acknowledging, I've learned from you. And they never came out and said it explicitly, which I actually give them credit for not doing that. But Riker saying, I'm who I am today because of you was implied. Well, and I loved it.
I think when you say Keith actually does tie into what I was thinking.
The backface thing.
Just the idea that we think of him more as a director than an actor and all that. Because I think part of this episode, which I think everyone can relate to, is that his old commander's like, well, you're still that guy from 12 years ago, which is like people from high school or not even high school. There's people in your life from however many years ago, like you're still that same person you were then. So it's like, no, I'm not. Or they don't, or even worse, they don't even remember you right. And so the whole time he's like, you were the guy who defended me. So what happened to that guy? He's like, well, I grew up.
You're still the guy that hosted Solomon Check before we reviewed The Cage 7 years ago.
Well, that has not changed. So yeah, which again, I think that also adds to the episode as well. I think that part. My next note is about and we kind of touched on the start of it, but the ship-to-ship talk with the Romulans is just hysterical in this episode.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
It's just
Loved it.
It's just such another level of
Everything about that was just like going to Thanksgiving with my
yeah, it's
it was like, it's very nice to see you. And this is operating on parameters, and the turkey will be out on the table.
Yeah.
And it's just like
It's all tone, it's all expressions. It's the subtext of like
it's a credit to the actors that they're conveying all that while
and everybody's
going
like
the other way.
mad about it. Nobody's saying like a fucking hate you. I fucking hate you, and here's your turkey.
Commander Cyril played my right, best known for playing an ensign in the film Star Trek Generations, which we haven't watched yet. Beyond the Rising Moon, one episode of Dr. Quinn Masswoman, and the film Ladder 49.
He looks super
He
familiar.
only has 49 credits. He did an episode of Veep. He did an episode of House of Cards.
oh, the
Romulan guy.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of Romulan fans, and I kind of
I'm one of them.
I'm not. I'm really not. And New Trek has leaned heavily into the Romulans, especially the J.J. Abrams movies and then the final Next Gen film. And I haven't loved it, but he epitomizes what the Romulans should be. The talk out of one side of your mouth but mean the other thing. This actor was so good, and if half the Romulans that we portrayed was good as Michael Mack,
as we've moved on, but
I feel like we don't get a ton of Romulans. We get a little bit of DS9, even less in Voyager. And obviously, like, Enterprise isn't going to really deal with the Romulans because you wouldn't have seen what they look like.
Right.
New Trek's leaned into it a bit, but they're not as fun as this. And this is what a Romulan should be. Shady as heck.
Yeah.
And very... So the Romulans, if you like read the books and stuff and get into like the deeper mythology, like they're a person, if you knock on their front door, you don't ever enter a Romulan's front door. There's some secret entrance in the back you have to find your way to if you want to get in their house. And this is the type of Romulan that exemplifies that, and I loved it. Maybe my favorite Romulan since Joanna Linville played the Romulan commander in the original series.
Yeah, well, it's about them trying to steal the cloaking device.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a phase cloaking device.
Right.
Which that technology would change the game.
What happened was then apparently they phased into a
rock.
Oh, you're jumping way ahead.
And ended up just like in an earlier episode.
I'm bad at podcasts. I'm super sorry.
In an earlier episode of the Next Gen, we had a phase issue and one crewman like half phase through the floor was stuck. And now we see the Starship equivalent of that.
Literally was Bones's.
Yes, right. And it flashed in my head too when they said that. Yeah, and they said solid rock a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like that's like QFM 96.3. I don't know what it is, like solid rock.
Nice.
96.3 QFM.
I know.
Yeah.
The whole story of the Pegasus and the mutiny and that most of the officers sided against Riker and then died for it.
Yeah.
And so that to me, I'm of mixed feelings because
Yeah.
you can forgive Riker for the youthful indiscretion. He should have sided against his captain, but fresh out of the academy, you get it. And I feel like we've seen the episode of the film where a captain is mutinied against and the ensign stands by and be like, oh, that douche, that's that young star. And it helps flesh out that character.
Well,
It's so good. And you forgive him instantly because of what you know about him. But
and that's what Picard essentially says at the end. But it is weird when they get on the ship and neither of them have a reaction to these dead people that they
Riker
knew.
does. He doesn't say that out loud, but he does.
Yes, he does. And it makes sense that
I mean, he barely knew them,
would,
but
because Pressman would be
Right.
Well, he says they deserve to die.
Now you make me think back about it. It was subtle in the sense that it was Riker building up that courage to stand up to him. And finally, he's getting more outraged. It's just like,
yeah,
do you not care? He's not saying out loud, but he just keeps getting more.
Like I said, the Star Trek Enterprise episode, I swear, takes place after Preston comes on board before that scene. It has to end before that scene.
Wow.
That is the scene where Riker makes the decision.
Well, and this episode also because of the whole the mention of mutiny, makes me think of Doomsday Machine, which had a lot of mutiny on the bounty references. Except that in that one, our people are the ones doing the mutiny, and then Queeg goes in the Doomsday Machine, kills himself, which Pressman doesn't. Which I think because and maybe it's, no, our boy Quinn, he's Terry Quinn and William Wyndham. I think those are good comps. They're both really good actors. But I feel like Decker's a character because he's like, oh, I screwed up. He's like, I lost my crew. Whereas Quinn's like, yeah, they were terrible. They deserved to die.
Literally, he will just like draw everybody into like, I'm on an island. I don't know what the fuck it is. And I'm just like, you've got a spaceship? Sure. Pull that. And like,
and when he says to Riker, he's like, well, I have these orders and you cannot tell anyone. I mean, it's like, this is BS. This is not cool.
I love that it's just like, okay, I'm just, so my orders are, I'm a fascist.
Yeah.
So
I voted for Trump.
fascist and just
By now, Trump's in jail.
Riker and
Pressman is Trump.
Yeah.
He gets away with everything.
But no, they were having that argument about like doing the right thing, and if you hadn't, this wouldn't have happened. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Do we? He seems awfully convinced that it was the crewman's fault that this accident happened. So is it because they're mutinying, or because his orders in the process of being carried out, and they luckily we're being driven off. They jumped off before the accident. The crew was right that this was too dangerous to even try, and it kind of ended up like.
So I think the crew was saying it was too dangerous to try.
Right.
But in the end,
and then they ended up
they were saying to get away or something.
Yeah.
Because
his thing is, if you just went along to get along, then you don't understand what I was doing, and you wouldn't have got phased into an asteroid.
I think the machineer just malfunctioned and did something.
don't be.
No, was that ever clear then? Was it because they didn't go along with it?
It wasn't clear because Riker and Pressman left the ship several minutes ahead of time, and we never found out what happened in those minutes.
Yeah.
But I assumed they were either trying to escape from Romulans, or maybe it just activated because they hadn't got it disconnected yet. I don't know.
So the next note, this is Dawn's note. This is a fashion note. When Riker is being tended to by Crusher from Batla.
Holodeck. He was hanging out with Worf and playing with the Batlets.
But Dawn had a note on, had a comment on that.
Go ahead.
About body hair.
No,
Riker's body hair.
Elaborate.
I don't believe that was my note. Wow.
Well, I know. No, you had this right. You had body hair.
Oh,
Yes.
All right.
The robe. Yeah.
All right. Can I see?
Oh, just his body hair.
As Dawn takes Stevens.
It's gonna be a bit of
Fashion dash body hair Dawn. That's what it says.
The robe.
Yeah, the crochet. Yes.
Thank you. You had a robe that was crocheted, and also pants that were crocheted.
Yeah.
With
It was cool.
a drawstring that was
Troy did it for him.
crocheted.
You have to wonder if it was showing up without the definition on the TV.
I think Troy crocheted it.
Like, I appreciate some loungewear. I do.
I like all I want to do is be comfortable.
Was it? And I guess I missed it. Was it like the Klingon Tai Chi Terry Claw?
No,
Oh.
no, it wasn't. So my theory is Barclay's freaking annoying. Troy crochets while she's listening to Barclay and made Riker an workout outfit.
Yeah, Troy being the therapist.
Because Troy being Riker's, Imzadi.
That's
So, your opinion on body here, then. You mentioned that it was almost like another part of
and
the
the next
outfit.
thing I knew that he was like, he had like, okay,
yeah.
if you're a lady,
I'm not
you know what a waterfall
of hair.
Pattern for
sweater is,
Oh, yeah. A hair sweat, yes.
right? So you've got a waterfall sweater.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like this is basically where you're like, I've given up.
Mm.
I've given up.
On manscaping, you mean, or just
And then I just like given up, and my sweater has details. Yep, that's where I am.
no, that's good.
And then
You're finding
So-
the message.
Oh,
he had so what's his name?
Bagger or
Thank you. Riker had this, and he had this, and it was a crocheted sweater and crocheted sweatpants, which you do not want to crochet sweatpants.
Why not?
Really,
Yeah.
not want
I've never worn
crochet
crochet.
sweatpants, and he left all of this open
This being his chest area.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is, yeah.
because he's like, "This is my sexy chest hair,"
It's
and
a
I'm
very
like,
Kirk thing to do. I
That's
imagine.
fine. That is fine. That is fine. However, it was a bit much.
Troy disagrees.
You know what?
She roll her fingers around.
She does not.
She doesn't have a choice. I mean, it's like, well, you gotta accept it. It's like,
Troy likes it.
She does.
Women I've dated have preferred the
smooth. No,
they
smooth.
preferred the hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Shave my face.
What's the ties this man?
What I can say is, I can guarantee you, nobody wants to crochet anything.
Well, I agree with you.
Okay.
Anyway,
The next one, oh, did you have?
no, go for it.
Next is this is one of those linguistic things. Jordy says we might have just struck pay dirt.
I didn't catch that.
Do you guys know? Do you guys hear the term pay dirt?
Of course.
Okay.
Like
That's-
gold mining or something? You know what I meant?
old school.
Is it? Yeah, maybe that is what it is.
I grew up with that.
It used to be like there was a board game that was a football game.
Whoa, I don't know about a board game. I just know it was a common phrase.
Yeah, no, but it was no. I mean, it was a phrase before. Yeah, use it for the board game, but it's a football game, meaning if you score a touchdown, that's pay dirt. So I think the mining thing makes sense.
Yeah, no.
No, I thought
It
you
was, it was more with mining.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how often I hear pay dirt.
Wait. I thought you like had an anecdote because you knew like the origin. You're like, say.
Oh no. I was just like, I don't know how often I hear pay dirt.
It's been a while, but you
Yeah.
feel like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something.
The North American term pay dirt dates from the 1850s during the California Gold
Gold
Rush.
Rush, eh?
Yes. Sorry.
That's also the last time I heard it.
That's a joke because Steven's old.
Game. Like,
There's no board games in this house.
Can the people know?
There's a few Star Trek board games over there too.
I don't know when this happened exactly, but we all laughed at Data's side eye
Oh, right.
towards Pressman at one point.
They can come out of the ship and so forth.
The character.
Oh yes,
I want to talk about LeVar Burton's directing because we hated it. He was a terrible director of this episode.
I think there were some good shots.
Some awkward, awful shots too.
I think-
and the main character.
Yeah, right. So yeah, the joke being, I said, well, maybe they should have a sighted person direct. And yes, thank you. Yeah. Another high five for that. Wait, but just said something else.
no, solid.
I thought. I mean,
I think there could be a very competent blind director. I don't think LeVar Burton was that.
there were some weird angles and
If
stuff.
only he was really blind, he probably would be a good blind director. Whereas if you fake blind, you're going to be a crappy.
I thought
blind
though in some of the better parts of the episode where like which we're coming up on Picard, kind of lighting into Riker and
Yeah.
everything, their confrontation scene, he just stayed tight and like, nope, this is just about these two guys talking.
good.
And
But then there were other shots where
There was
he
some
just
other-
tried weird angles.
Yeah.
The engineering shot where Riker and and the Admiral were walking through the other engineering set.
Yeah.
Which I liked the other engineering
Yeah.
set. I'm glad they differentiated because, but it just wasn't good.
Well, I think Don first, when we were watching, pointed out this, I guess it was sort of like an unflattering angle of Riker kind of looking at him.
Yeah.
But at the same
That's
time.
probably because LeVar Burton's like, how dare you think Jonathan Frakes is hotter than me?
Before how selfies worked.
LeVar Burton's awesome. I love LeVar Burton.
You always gotta go from up top.
But then later on,
Community.
she also pointed out like a good, when they had the bridge shot from Data right there, the front on.
That was actually good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Angles. They're working out their angles.
I think this demonstrates that LeVar Burton was not well experienced yet. He'd only done a couple episodes before this, and he had some really good shots and some really bad shots. And so,
That's all a director can hope for, really. To have really good bad.
I love LeVar Burton. I think he's a creative genius, but this wasn't the best. But it could just be because he was still learning. So
next is essentially the mutiny conversation.
yes.
And, as Picard's talking to him about it, Riker has not said, oh, yeah, here's what really happened. But
Because Riker refused.
right. But he's also not even hiding. Like, it's like, obviously, you know more. He's like the worst, poker face. For a guy who's good at poker, his poker face is terrible.
He didn't need to. I mean, he was being very polite about it. I think he understood that he wasn't going to try to insult Picard's intelligence with trying whatever. But it's like, this is it. You're not to talk to the Admiral about this.
Admiral.
You're outranked.
I agree with Keith. I think Riker was just being deferential to his previous commander until he had a reason not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I forgive him for it.
Well, and this is so.
You're forgiven.
I forgive a fictional character something he never did.
It gives him so much comfort.
Well, and doesn't
You can come back anytime you want.
Riker say you'll have to ask the Admiral? And
Yeah.
Picard's like, I'm asking you.
Yes.
Two scenes where you had his commanding officer raising their voice at it.
Yeah.
And you never really see that in the series. Like, whoa, it just like.
And Picard for the prosecution really good, but it also now makes me think. So I don't know if anyone's seen Oppenheimer. By now, you probably
I haven't actually.
I haven't. But by now, I probably will.
I would just say there's a scene where essentially a prosecutor in that is saying the same thing to a couple of the witnesses for Oppenheimer. And it's like, this guy's a jerk. But in this instance, I'm like, you're right, Picard. So you are asking him.
I take Riker and Picard's side in this scene, though, because Riker at this point has plenty of reasons to doubt his former commander, but in this particular situation, Pressman hasn't crossed the line yet now. He did in the past. So he's trying to straddle the line to play things out, and he's trying to make a decision.
By using the Riker maneuver.
And
That's right.
maybe, again, I will grant it to my knowledge of what Riker's doing during this episode that we don't see. But I agree. I understand Picard's frustration.
Yeah, and I guess that explains why he's so willing to go along with, I can't tell you, don't tell anybody else. And we're the only two that know this. So I guess if you're like,
He's already read it.
Commander, okay, all right, I gotta go along with this. But
All right.
Just like Miles O'Brien and Bob Gutenberg. As I mix character and actor names again.
Yeah, from Police Academy, Bob Gutenberg. Thank you. I know it's not Bob.
Let's finish your notes off.
yes.
So
This might work for that. So as the Enterprise is finally entering the asteroid, literally,
cool shots.
yeah, there's a stinger with it as they cut to commercial. I just wrote dirty because they're literally entering and they're like, dun-dun-dun. It's like, yeah, it's very
And dirty.
yeah, it's very climactic, anticlimactic.
Mm.
My next one is I've had 12 years to think about it, which is kind of what we alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
Great
yeah,
line,
I'm
yeah.
not the
12 years.
I'm not the noob I was earlier. I mean, it's been 12 years, so yeah, I've gone through some stuff.
We've only seen half of that development, but half was enough to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a helmsman back then.
Let's try wait. I'm going to throw this out here. Thomas Riker
Oh,
split after
Oh, right.
this incident.
Right.
How would this episode have gone differently had Thomas Riker been in the position instead of William Riker, as the show almost did?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Thomas Riker would have been more quick to side with the Admiral. And that would have been a very interesting differentiator where Picard goes, Will wouldn't have done this. And Tom's like, well, I'm not Will. And then it would have been a great scene.
And then they would have phasered him and put him in the brig.
Yeah, it's a funny joke about he's a Nazi.
So
Wait, what?
I do want to mention from Memory Alpha that the original ending of this episode was Riker would have been sentenced to the brig for 30 days and on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And I feel like other Star Treks later do that kind of crap, but that would have been a really cool thing if like Picard's like, okay,
Michael Burnham goes.
you're gonna if Picard was like, well, you're gonna serve your 30 days here, but you've earned your right when you get out of this to continue to serve as my XO. That would have been a cool ending.
Speaking of that, yeah, the Discovery things kept popping in my head. I assumed it was when I saw their phase. I thought maybe they were researching the jump drive technology.
Yeah.
and we also
Spare drive.
well, yeah, but the point being,
yeah.
I'm thinking of another show too, but like the point being to teleport through things.
Right.
But so there's also some.
Keep up on the technology.
Memory Alpha also
There's another
compares
series I have
this episode to First Duty, where Wesley Crusher chose as an early cadet
Yeah.
to side with the other cadets. And it took a while for him to come out, and that
right,
makes
the
total
game.
sense. I like that.
Okay, wait. So to finish it,
Yeah.
mutiny being unprecedented, and we've like
Yeah.
heard them, like the
Yeah.
and so those
That's
kinds
true.
of almost wonder if they're linked in some way. But
Mutiny.
yes,
I will say, so Rodney Moore wrote this, one of our regulars.
Yeah.
He said first of all, this was based, I'm on Memory Alpha. Great source. Sure. It was based on the novel Raise the Titanic, talking about the mystery of the Titanic being lost.
Yeah.
But then he also said his original cold open had Data, Troy, and Riker rehearsing Pygmalion for performance. And the producer, Michael Piller, was skeptical and they had to drop the idea. But Jonathan Frakes' impersonation of Captain Picard would have also been part of that cold open. And that's what they decided to keep, which is perfect.
While we're talking about Ronald D. Moore, I'll do another plug for All Mankind if you have Apple Plus. I'm into
Still seen
season
that.
3.
oh, the series, right?
Yeah, the
that's it.
series. Sorry. And our old friend Joe Manosky wrote one of the most recent episodes, which I'm pretty sure he was one of our TNG writers.
You're going to find this piece of trivia wonderful. Andre Bramis had just joined the Star Trek franchise as a scientific advisor. They mentioned Duonetic Field in this episode. That was a direct tribute to the original series episode, The Ultimate Computer, and Rachel Daystrom's Deutronic.
Yes.
I love Memory Alpha.
I live in 8 days.
This is why I don't get on this, because this would take 10 minutes to ever.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I like that. We kind of all were like, oh, it's got to be a cloaking device when they're like, oh, it's this 60-year-old, whatever, 50-year-old thing. But then they added the phasing thing. So it's cloaking device plus. So.
Right. That's why I was on phasing before. I thought that like the teleportation or something like the jumping into.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah. And that's, I think, the idea. And to go back to the bone stuff and all that, I like the way all that integrates into, that's why it's in there. And I thought that's good going back and picking up old stuff and adding.
Mhm.
So this is my second to last note.
Oh, tell me all your notes.
he already did.
I want to.
I got a note directly for Don from Memory Alpha. Jocelyn Robinson played the con officer that never speaks.
Oh,
right.
yes.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
been.
In this episode, I missed it, but she actually utters a word, course plotted, just 2 words.
Yeah.
But they mention that generally they never let her speak because she's an extra, but Brett Spiner and the rest of the cast said, that's line for her, not for me. So they let her say it.
Nice.
Here for
That's awesome.
So yeah.
here for us.
So I can't remember if it's Pressman. I think it's Pressman says this is the biggest invention in 50 years.
Yeah,
Which made me think of Jimmy and I were talking in the green room, as mentioned earlier. I'm working through Red Shirts, and in the middle of there, they say the book Red Shirts.
Oh, okay. Not that.
Yeah, whenever you're close to any, if you're going to tell me, and I'll read it and we'll do an episode.
Yeah,
We'll
and
do a special episode.
they mentioned that all of the starships in this version of Starfleet
Yeah.
are on universal time, on Earth time.
Sure.
So that way they don't have to worry. So
So the 0600.
so they fixed the whole thing I've been talking about for 7 years.
I want to throw this out, and this is just for Patreon donors, obviously. In this month's episode of Universe Journey, we performed 2 days ago, there's a new alien that joins the crew, and he says, 1 month Earth time, because I've studied your time, and I've seen things because of our discussions.
Oh, boy, I was like, what?
That line was in there for you. And
So yeah, all right. So
I want to be there for where the nerds are.
yeah.
you know, 110 episodes of Universe Journey was
That's more money.
Well, so there was
Unless it's about Buffy or Showgirls.
You should get into Universe Journey.
yeah. She was talking.
After.
Yeah.
Let's finish.
So my last note is modern episode, which is based on, somebody said this, a history of disobedience. Yeah, I can't remember who they were talking about.
Yeah.
But that's the episode I want. And then I was like, well, I guess I want to see the mutiny.
My alternate episode is Riker and Troy working through the morality of should he tell Picard about the mutiny. Oh, wait, that's an episode of Star Trek Enterprise Day, right? Let's get to the rankings.
Yes.
Who's your annoyance this week?
It's Admiral Pressman.
Yeah.
Is there any other choice?
No.
I guess not.
Don, do you have another
Unless
choice?
you really, really hated Laura Gordon's stretch.
I mean, I do, but not enough to knock out Pressman.
Is Locke?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Pressman.
That's
Yeah.
Who are you having a drink with? I mean, I got to go Riker. I so appreciate what Riker was going through.
Yeah.
I get the argument for Picard because he also was struggling, but I appreciate what Riker was going through, so I'm going Riker.
I'm going with, and this is in keeping with my real life, Admiral Margaret Bob Blackwell. Better really try and make her laugh.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that would be a challenge.
Well, this is
let's
my
do this.
dating life.
Tourist lady. Yeah.
Is Tina that too?
Yeah. I get you.
She doesn't like my show.
I married a woman that doesn't think I'm funny at all. A comedy show.
Hey, I married two.
You win. Anyway,
I think my ex thought that was funny. Some of this.
who are you having a drink with?
Oh, that's tough because I might have changed my answer to Tourist lady.
Blackwell?
Yeah, Blackwell. Yeah,
Really?
that's really good. That would have my first choice, but it's just tough.
Who are you having a drink with, Dom?
Isn't that special?
Sponsor. And then Keith ruined it for me.
Sorry, was it the
You'll look that Keith
con?
here later.
No.
It
was like, you know what?
Wait,
Who's the doctor lady?
yeah, Crusher. Yeah.
Beverly Crusher.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would have the.
We all.
You haven't been here for 7
Yeah,
seasons. We all crush on Harder and Crusher.
She's the best.
She was
No,
absolutely
I didn't
named.
want to make out with her.
That's not what I meant. I meant
No.
she's an awesome character. I wish they'd actually give her due to. But
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like they actually do in Star Trek Picard season 3, but we'll get to that.
Oh God, yeah, that's oh wow, yeah.
I'm starting at the top. Better or worse than Parallels, which was the very last Next Generation episode we watched, which I know you guys don't remember at all.
No.
Parallel.
I'm looking it up right now because I can't tell you off of
Yeah.
the top, man. Oh, that's Worf's in the alternate universes, one where he was married to Troy.
Oh no. That's our number.
That's our number one right
I
now.
really like that one though, so I would go under that one.
No, it's above. It's above
What is?
this episode.
What?
It is. The character development they had for Picard and Riker and the relationship, it's above.
Oh
Yeah, I think for the things I mentioned at the top when I said it didn't hang the moon, but
That's
we're
okay.
gonna rank it number one.
Well, because season 7's has sucked.
I think the bad Commodore thing hangs over it, but I think there's all these other really good things like the Cheers opening and
Yep.
the backstory and
Watch my fingers not move because I already put it in number
Yeah.
one.
what two?
Ms. Dawn, I'd like
Parallels.
the record to reflect.
You want to know what's below it?
What was number two before? we moved this?
Wait. I'd like the record to reflect that this is explicitly against my opinion.
Oh, I know.
That we're going on the
Same noted. So below Parallels is Liaisons. That is the beginning of the season where
Is that the
I'm on Wikipedia. It's way too many words. Let me find a quicker. The 3 aliens that explore the concepts of with extreme singular focus.
wow? That was number two.
That was number 2. That's because season 7 has been awful.
That was really good. I mean,
It was a good episode, but
Yeah.
this season's been terrible.
Yeah.
Next Gen did not end with a bang. It ended
But
with
also
a
the names, parallels, liaison.
Yeah.
Again,
That's the running thing.
Epics.
The vague.
so
Those are-
it's number 1 because Steven and I agreed. But Keith, do you want to go below Liaisons or above? How far down are you going to go to disagree with us?
Wait, I'm confused.
Sorry, Don, this is just...
No. I was going to put it at the top.
Yeah, we put it at the top. You said below Parallels.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. All right. Yes. You're. Oh, I would keep. I'm there. They're about. Yeah.
About Liaison?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Well, Steve and I already have his number 1, so it stays at number 1, but you are on record of
Yes.
wanting it number 2. So noted.
Explicitly.
So
I
noted.
explicitly disagree with this.
Next week, Deep Space Nine, the alternate, Odo and his mentor, Dr. Mora Pell, discover a life form similar to Odo on a Gamma Quadrant planet. So we're going to get another Odo.
All right.
Until then, live long.
Because rock and roll will never die.
And
Prosper.
prosper. Be here.
Aww.
You can come back anytime.
Well, it's as darkest before the dawn.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?